I used to think love was simple, you meet someone, fall hard, and the rest just works itself out. That was before I met Adrian Wolfe, the billionaire who made me believe in fairy tales and then turned them into my worst nightmare. I met him at a charity gala I wasn't even supposed to attend. My best friend, a makeup artist, had dragged me there as her +1. I was wearing a borrowed dress, one size too big, my hair pinned up with trembling hands. And then, he appeared. Every woman's head turned. He had that quiet kind of power, the type that didn't need to be loud to own the room. His eyes met mine once, and didn't leave. By the end of the night, I was in his car, city lights blurring like spilled champagne outside the tinted windows. He talked about stars, ambition, and how he built his empire from nothing. But what I remember most was how he listened, like every word I said mattered. 3 months later, I'd moved into his penthouse. It was a world I didn't belong in, marble floors, rooftop gardens, servants who whispered my name like I was someone important. I told myself I'd earned it, that maybe he really did love me. Then one morning, I woke up and my iPad, the one where I kept my diary, my sketches, my poetry, was gone. I thought I'd misplaced it. But when I asked Adrian, he only smiled faintly and said, maybe it's better that way. Some secrets are meant to be shared. I didn't understand what he meant, until the next day. Every personal note, every private confession I'd ever written, was leaked. My journal had become a trending topic online. The headlines were vicious, *billionaire's girlfriend exposes herself in secret diary. My words twisted, my pain made entertainment. I confronted him, shaking, humiliated. You did this? I asked, barely able to breathe. He didn't deny it. He looked at me like I was naive. You wanted to be seen, didn't you? He said calmly. Now the world knows you. You're famous. It wasn't fame I wanted. It was respect. It was love. But in his world, even affection came with a price tag. I tried to leave that night, but his security wouldn't let me. Mr. Wolfe requested you stay until things calm down, one of them said, not meeting my eyes. My phone was gone. My accounts were frozen. Every message I sent was intercepted. That's when I realized, I wasn't his girlfriend anymore. I was his project. He started watching me differently. Every move I made, every word I spoke, recorded, studied, controlled. His charm had turned into surveillance. His love had become obsession. One night, I found something, a hidden room behind his office bookshelf. Inside were files, about me, photos from before we met. My university records. My childhood address. Even transcripts of phone calls I never remembered having. My whole life, mapped out, like I was part of some twisted research experiment. That's when I stopped being afraid. I started pretending. Smiling when he smiled, laughing when he joked. But inside, I was plotting. Because if he thought he owned my story, he hadn't read the ending yet. The night of his company's grand gala, I played the perfect girlfriend again, red dress, flawless smile. Cameras flashed as we walked in together. He whispered, "You finally belong here." But what he didn't know, was that I'd already sent copies of everything I found in that hidden room to a journalist I trusted. Every photo, every recording, every contract with my forged signature. The clock struck 10. His speech began. I stood beside him, champagne in hand, smiling for the cameras, when suddenly, every screen in the room flickered. And then, the screens came alive. It started with static, a soft crackle that made everyone pause mid-laugh, mid-sip. Then a grainy video appeared, a younger me, sitting on Adrian's couch, tears in my eyes. His voice echoed through the speakers, smooth and controlled as always. "You don't need to think, darling. I already know what's best for you." The room fell silent. You could feel the confusion turn into tension, thick as smoke. Adrian froze mid-sentence. His smile faltered, his jaw tightening just slightly, but enough for me to see the crack beneath his perfection. Then another clip rolled, footage from his office camera. Him instructing his assistant to leak the diary strategically, she'll gain sympathy before the product launch. Gasps rippled through the audience. His investors, friends, media people, they were all watching the image of a man stripped of his mask. I didn't move. I just stood there, letting the chaos unfold around me. His hand brushed mine, cold, shaking, and I stepped away. He turned toward me, voice low but dangerous. "What did you do?" "Just giving the world the story you wanted them to see," I whispered. Security rushed forward. Cameras clicked like rapid gunfire. His PR team scrambled, shouting orders, trying to shut down the screens. But it was too late. The journalist had scheduled it to broadcast live on every major business channel. Adrian Wolf's empire, his meticulously built illusion, was unraveling in real time. He leaned closer, his breath hot against my ear. "You think this will destroy me? You have no idea who I am." I smiled faintly. "I think you're about to find out who I am." The lights flickered again, and suddenly the room went dark. A blackout. I heard the crowd murmuring, feet shifting, confusion turning into panic. Then, a single emergency light came on, and in that red glow, I saw his face. Calm. Almost, amused. That's when it hit me, he'd expected this. Before I could move, he grabbed my wrist. His grip was like iron. "You played your part beautifully," he murmured. "But you forgot, I never lose." He dragged me through a side door before anyone noticed, his security already blocking the corridor. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. He pushed me into an elevator, the mirrored walls reflecting my terrified face 100 times over. "Where are you taking me?" I demanded. "Home," he said simply. "Where you belong." When the elevator doors opened, we were in the basement, his private garage. Rows of black cars lined up, engines humming faintly. The air smelled like metal and gasoline. He gestured toward one of the cars, and I shook my head. "No. I'm not going anywhere with you." He tilted his head slightly, that same cold smile playing on his lips. "You really think they'll believe you over me? The world loves a scandal, but it forgets fast. You'll be the crazy ex by morning." But I wasn't afraid anymore. "Maybe," I said, my voice steady, "but they'll never forget the look on your face when the truth came out." His jaw clenched. For a moment, the mask slipped again, and I saw it. The panic he tried so hard to hide. He stepped closer, eyes burning. "You could have had everything, Ava. The life people dream about. Instead, you chose to bite the hand that built you." I held his gaze. "You didn't build me, Adrian. You just underestimated me." He laughed quietly, shaking his head. "You think you've won? You really don't understand how this world works." He opened the car door, but before he could say another word, we both heard the sharp echo of boots, security guards running toward us. Not his. Mine. Detective Harris emerged from the shadows, his badge glinting under the harsh lights. "Adrian Wolf," he said firmly, "you're under investigation for unlawful surveillance, identity theft, and coercion." Adrian turned to me slowly, realization dawning in his eyes. "You called them." "I didn't have to," I said quietly. "They've been watching you for weeks." For the first time, he looked small. Not the billionaire genius or the charming manipulator, just a man cornered by the truth. His security hesitated, unsure what to do as Harris and his team surrounded him. Adrian didn't resist. He just looked at me, almost tenderly. "You'll regret this," he said, voice low and certain. "You think I'm the monster, but you've just become me." Those words stayed with me, long after they took him away. I left the gala in the back of a police car, cameras flashing as the media swarmed. My phone buzzed non-stop, messages, interviews, offers. Everyone wanted a piece of the story. But I didn't answer any of them. I went back to my small apartment, the one I hadn't seen in months. It smelled like dust and freedom. I collapsed on the floor, exhausted, shaking, but alive. For the first time in forever, there was silence. I thought it was over. I wanted it to be over. But that night, as I sat by the window watching the city lights, I noticed something strange. My iPad, the same one I thought he'd stolen, was on my desk. It shouldn't have been there. Hands trembling, I opened it. The screen flickered, then displayed a single video file, timestamped just an hour earlier. My throat went dry. I pressed play. The footage showed Adrian, sitting in an interrogation room, calm and smiling. "You think I don't plan for everything?" he said, looking straight into the camera. "Let her think she's won. It'll make the next act so much better." The screen went black. Then, a message appeared. "Check your bank account." I froze. Against my better judgment, I opened my banking app. My balance, the one that had been frozen for months, now showed a deposit. $10 million. And below it, a note, asterisk a gift. "You'll need it, asterisk." I dropped the iPad. My heart pounded in my chest. I didn't know whether it was a warning, a trap, or a twisted apology. The next morning, news channels exploded with updates. Adrian Wolf had been granted bail. He'd hired the most powerful lawyers money could buy. And somewhere in the endless interviews and speculation, one detail stood out: his empire hadn't collapsed. In fact, his company's stock was rising. He'd turned his downfall into publicity. Everywhere I looked, there he was, smiling on magazine covers, giving cryptic interviews, talking about love and betrayal, as if we were just characters in one of his marketing campaigns. The world was eating it up. And then the messages began. Anonymous emails. Unmarked envelopes at my door. Photographs, of me, taken that same day, from angles I couldn't explain. He was still watching. One night, as I came home, I found a single white rose on my doorstep. No note. Just that. The same flower he used to send me every time he forgave me after an argument. I told myself it was a coincidence. That he couldn't possibly reach me again. But deep down, I knew, this wasn't over. Not even close. Because when I checked my reflection in the window, there was something etched faintly on the glass, words written in condensation, fading as I stared. Round 2 begins. And then, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. One message. Asterisk, miss me. Asterisk. The message on my screen glowed in the dark room, asterisk, miss me. Asterisk, just 2 words, but they sliced through me like a knife. I felt the walls closing in, every sound amplified, the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, the distant city noise outside my window. My fingers trembled, but I forced myself to breathe. He wanted fear. He fed on it. I deleted the message and turned off my phone, but I knew it didn't matter. Adrian didn't need technology to reach me, he had already planted himself deep in my world, in my mind. Even when he wasn't there, he was. For weeks, I lived like a ghost. Every time I stepped outside, I felt eyes on me. Cameras followed my story, tabloids painted me as both victim and villain, the woman who took down a billionaire, they called me. But they didn't know the truth. I hadn't taken him down. He was still playing, just from a different board. I hired private security, changed apartments, changed names. I stopped answering calls, stopped checking social media. Yet, every few days, I'd find small reminders that he hadn't gone away, a note slipped under my door, a perfume I hadn't worn in months suddenly lingering in my room, a familiar cologne in the air when I walked home at night. Then, one morning, I received an invitation. A sleek black envelope, no stamp, no return address. My name written in gold ink. Inside, a single card, asterisk, the end of the story, one final chapter. Asterisk. Below it was an address, his estate. The mansion where it all began. I should have burned it. I should have ignored it. But something inside me needed closure, not for him, but for me. I needed to end this, on my terms. So that night, I went. The mansion was as I remembered, elegant, silent, hauntingly perfect. The gates were already open, as if he'd been expecting me. I stepped inside, every sound of my heels echoing against the marble floor. Candles flickered along the hallway, leading me toward the grand staircase. The air smelled faintly of jasmine, my favorite scent. He remembered everything. At the top of the stairs, his voice broke the silence. You came. I turned. He stood there, Adrian Wolfe, the man who had once ruled the world with a smile. Only now, he looked different. No tailored suit, no crowd, no mask. Just a man, pale, tired, eyes darker than I'd ever seen them. Why call me here? I asked. Because I'm done playing, he said softly. I wanted you to see the truth before everyone else does. He gestured toward his study. The door was ajar. I hesitated, then walked in. Inside, the walls were covered with photos, hundreds of them. Me, my family, my friends, my childhood home, every place I'd ever been. It was my entire life, mapped like a case study. And in the center of the room, on the desk, was a document. His confession. Everything you think you know, he said behind me, is only half the truth. I didn't leak your diary because I wanted to destroy you. I wanted to protect you. I turned slowly. Protect me? From what, you? He shook his head. From them. From the people who built me. He walked closer, his expression unreadable. You think I became who I am because of brilliance or ambition? No. Because I was trained, molded, by people who saw the world as a chessboard, and I was their king. But the moment I met you, everything changed. You made me feel human again, and that terrified them. They wanted you gone. His voice cracked slightly, the first hint of emotion I'd ever heard from him. I leaked the diary to make you look scandalous, untouchable, so they'd back off. It was the only way to keep you alive. I didn't believe him. I couldn't. You're lying. Am I? He gestured to a video file playing on the large screen behind him. It showed men in suits, people I'd seen at his company's events, discussing me. They called me a liability, a distraction. They wanted to remove me from the picture. My knees went weak. I stared at the screen, my breath shallow. Why are you showing me this now? Because, he said quietly, they've turned on me now. And when they destroy me, they'll come for you. I didn't know whether to scream or cry. The man who had broken me was now claiming to save me, and worse, part of me believed him. He stepped closer, his voice low, urgent. You have to disappear. I've transferred everything to your name, money, assets, locations. It's all yours now. Leave tonight. Don't look back. I searched his face, trying to find the monster I'd known, but what I saw was something else, regret. Real, heavy, aching regret. Why are you doing this? I whispered. Because for once in my life, I want to do something that isn't about power. He smiled faintly. Consider it my first honest act. Before I could respond, there was a loud crash downstairs, the sound of glass shattering, men shouting. Adrian's expression changed instantly. He grabbed my arm. They're here. Go, now. He pulled me toward a hidden exit behind the bookshelf, the same passage I'd once found months ago. Run, Ava, he said, eyes burning with something between fear and love. Run and don't look back. I hesitated. What about you? He smiled, and for the first time, it wasn't a mask. Some stories aren't meant to have heroes. Then he pushed me through the door and slammed it shut. I ran. Down narrow hallways, through cold night air, across the gardens that had once felt like paradise. Behind me, I heard gunshots, shouting, chaos, and then silence. By the time I reached the road, the mansion was in flames. The sky glowed orange, smoke curling into the stars. I stood there, frozen, watching everything burn. Adrian Wolf, billionaire, manipulator, lover, monster, was gone. Or so I thought. Days later, the media declared him dead. The fire had destroyed everything, no body, no trace. His empire collapsed overnight. Investigations, lawsuits, public outrage, it all consumed the world he built. And me? I vanished, just like he told me to. I moved to a small town by the sea, changed my name again, started painting, something I hadn't done in years. For a while, I almost believed I was free. Until one morning, while walking along the shore, I saw a man sitting alone on a bench. From afar, he looked ordinary, worn jeans, an old sweater, sunglasses. But when the wind blew, I caught a glimpse of his wrist. The watch. The same engraved silver watch I'd given him on his birthday. He didn't look at me. He didn't speak. He just smiled faintly, stood, and walked away, leaving behind a folded note on the bench. My hands shook as I picked it up. Inside, 2 words were written, the same ones that had started everything. Asterisk, for you. Asterisk. And under it, a single key, small and gold. I looked out at the horizon, the waves crashing against the rocks, the sky painted in fire and gold, and for the first time, I understood. Maybe he wasn't gone. Maybe he never would be. Because some loves don't end with death. Some obsessions don't fade with distance. Some stories, the truly unforgettable ones, don't have endings at all. They just wait. And somewhere out there, I knew Adrian Wolf was waiting too, watching, planning, playing the next move in a game that would never really end. And for the first time in a long, long while, I wasn't afraid. Because this time, I wasn't the pawn. I was the player.